right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Ivy Games Weekly. I am your host today. My name is Zach Dixon, and I am joined by Sarah Shah of Board Games in a Minute. Thanks for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Hmm.
Yeah. So lots to get into talking with Sarah today. But first, a little update. I'm not joined by Austin. Austin is on leave for a little bit. But don't worry, he'll be back. I know he's the favorite, so don't worry. You won't be stuck with just me for too long. But in the meantime, I'm super excited to have Sarah on the show. So Sarah, I guess a good place to start would be tell us about Board Games in a Minute. Tell us how it got started and just a little bit about what you're doing there.
Okay, sure. So it got started when lockdown began. Um, I started making videos in April of 2020 because, I started working from home and I had a lot of downtime. And I was on TikTok and I wanted to just make some kind of content on TikTok, board game content, since, I like board games and I didn't see any existing board game content on TikTok. And since the limit is 59 seconds on TikTok, that's how Board Games in a Minute came to be. I decided to challenge myself with creating videos about board games and just, explaining the gist of them in a minute. And yeah, that's how that happened. So.
No, I love that. And has video creation, video production been an interest for a while, or did that get sparked by TikTok?
Yeah, it was sparked by TikTok. I've never
Nice.
really had any interest in video production before then. So, yeah.
No, that's amazing. And what about board games? Has board games been kind of a lifelong thing for you, or is that more of a recent development as well?
Oh, well, I played my first modern board game in like 2012 or something like that, 2011 or 2012, which was Catan in law school. And
Love it.
yeah, and then I didn't get to play any modern board games for a while until I moved to London for a couple of years. And then I moved back from London in May 2016, and I started attending a meetup regularly and playing board games regularly in 2017. So yeah, I mean, I love board games, and they've been a constant part of my life since 2017 for sure. Yeah.
No, that's amazing. And that I mean that really echoes my kind of intro story to games as well, as just playing Catan in the dorm room at college. Austin was one of those people I played with.
Oh,
What was
cool.
that kind of next gateway game for you from Catan into modern board gaming?
Oh, I don't remember because, I started playing modern board games when I was living in London. Some of the games I remember playing were like Euphoria or like Love Letter, Marrakesh. Um, there was some like piratey themed game. I don't know. I mean, there was, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to remember now what games I played when I was living in London. But all kinds, yeah.
So
It's
I
hard
would
to remember.
love to talk. Oh yeah, no, I'm with you there. I would love to talk a little bit about just boiling a game down to a minute. So we also Ivy is we make board games, but then we also make animated videos. It's Ivy Commercial and Ivy Games. So I know firsthand just how challenging it is to boil anything down to 60 seconds, let alone explaining a game that sometimes it might take an hour to explain a game, like a really complicated game, to someone. So I would
Yeah.
just I please just tell me how you boil a game down to a minute. What's your process, and do you have any a framework for these videos? Would just love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I don't really have like a framework. What I do, of course, is, I before I can make any video is reading the rules and playing the game. And once I've played the game, then I have an idea of what the gist of the game is. And depending on the complexity of the game, some videos I can explain almost all of the rules in the video in 1 minute. But if it's a more complicated, like complex, heavy game, then clearly I can't do that in a minute. So in that case, I'll just
Mm.
give more of an overview of the game, like the gist of the game. I do feel like, being an attorney has kind of helped me to hone those skills of condensing board games into a minute, just getting up the important points. I've been asked many times whether I write a script. I don't write a script because I can't be bothered to
Wow.
memorize a script. So I just start talking and then I refine it with each take. So a difficult game can take up to 70, 80 takes. A
Whoa.
lighter one can take like 10, 15 takes. So yeah,
70 takes. That's like David Fincher level of perfection, getting it right. I love that.
yeah,
That's awesome, and I loved, I still remember when the one for Moonrakers popped up into my feed, and it
yeah,
was just so wonderful, like, seeing kinda your take on it and your kinda distillation, and also, like, your I don't know, it just made me feel like your genuine, like, I it seems like a really cool game, like, I'm really excited to play it at the end, and so
yeah.
thank you
I
for
love
that,
Moonrakers. So yeah, what did you think? Did I do it justice or no?
Oh, no, I thought you really did it justice. I wish we would've talked to you
Okay.
first because I don't know, it's I think it's really hard to, like I think one of the things that we love about a lot of the board games that we play is that they are complex, right? That they do
Yeah,
have a lot of this depth. But
yeah,
I think the big challenge in, discovering new games and marketing new games is really boiling it down to
yeah,
that core feeling,
yeah.
and it's a hard thing to find, it's a hard thing to define. um how do you go about kind of finding that core feeling, you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I wonder if it's something that's personal to me. Like, I wonder if someone else were trying to make a 1 minute video, whether they would focus on the same things that I focus on. That's a really good question. I don't know. Clearly, I'm picking what I think are the most important aspects of the board game, but maybe someone might disagree. And because I do have
Mm,
a minute, I will have to take out certain things if it's a heavier, complicated game. And, the way I start out is I always have all the components in front of me, and then I start picking up the ones I'm talking about. And eventually I might like just put components back into the box, realizing that I'm not going to use them after all. But, if someone else did the same thing, like trying to condense a board game into a minute, they might focus on parts that I'm not focusing on. So maybe it is a very personal thing. I don't know. Yeah.
would you say that, like, some games are harder to distill than others? Like, what's the hardest game
Um,
that you've ever had to boil down to a minute?
that's a good question. I mean, there are, I've covered some heavier games like Tricerian or Brass Birmingham or Abomination. Yeah, those are, but you know what I would find, what I find is interesting is that sometimes the heavier ones are not as difficult to make because in
Hmm,
those instances, I know I'm just giving an overview. So sometimes giving an overview is easier than doing a medium or lighter game where I have a minute. So doing an overview won't fill that minute, but giving all the rules would take longer than a minute. So sometimes it ends up being the medium weight games that end up being harder to do because I really
oh,
have a
yeah.
lot of information to cram in. So yeah, it's interesting, but that's some what happens sometimes. Yeah.
Do you feel like it takes a lot of playthroughs? I mean, to really kind of be able to distill down, or do you, like, just play it once and you're like, "I got this"?
Usually, for most games, once is enough. There are
Nice.
some that I probably would need to play more than once, like the heavier ones, but for the heavier ones, definitely more than once. But medium to lightweight games, once is definitely enough. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was like, "Oh, no," like, playing a game like Brass Birmingham, like, 10 times, that's just like, who has time for that? Like, I I don't,
Yeah,
so
well,
I
Brass
wish I did.
Birmingham was one of my favorite games. I had played it a number of times before I created the
Nice,
video for it. It was like one of the first videos I ever did, like one of the earliest. So yeah.
nice. So I know, like, I mean, you have clients, but you also do some, I think, just because you want to, is that right? Like, kind of a mix of passion and, paid clients?
Yeah, I mean, nowadays, most of my videos are sponsored videos because, I have a full-time day job, which keeps me busy during the
Yeah.
day. So I prioritize sponsored videos. So if someone wants a video for a Kickstarter, 9 times out of 10, it's a sponsored video. So those I prioritize, and then if I have time to play any of the other games which publishers and designers have so generously sent to me, then I will create videos for them. But I always let publishers and designers know that that's, not something I can guarantee. I can't guarantee you a date of when that video will come out because I have to prioritize the sponsored ones first. So, but yeah,
Yeah.
but I still do create non-sponsored videos too. Yeah.
No, that's great. Yeah, how do you decide, like, do you are you, like, buying, like, lots of Kickstarter games all the time? Or, like, I mean, you're the wall behind you is a lot of games back there, but, like, I only have so much time to play so many games. I feel like I keep buying more,
Yeah,
and
no,
I don't have time to play them.
no, I still buy a lot of games, but this time last year I was like utterly broke from backing games on Kickstarter. Like I had backed so many games on Kickstarter, like I seriously had no money. But yeah, I still back games on Kickstarter, not as much as I used to because I'm starting to wonder whether I'll ever get to a point where I feel like I have a game that will satisfy my craving for a certain theme or a certain mechanic or a combination of both. Sometimes I think, oh, I have enough, but then I'll see a new game on Kickstarter, and it's like, okay, I definitely need that game. So, I don't think I'll ever stop buying games. It's just too hard. It's just too hard to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it really is. Have you gotten into flipping games at all, or selling things on, like, Board Game Geek or anything like that?
I've sold like maybe 1 or 2 games. I have a really hard time, parting ways with games. Even if there are games that
Yeah,
I know I probably won't ever play again, it's like, but maybe someday I'll be in
but
the
maybe
mood for
yeah.
this game exactly, right? So, like, one day there's going to be a day where I want this game and no other game to play. So it's really hard to part ways with games. It's hard, but I've done it. Just yesterday, I gave away a
Oh, really?
game in an expansion to someone because I knew that chances I was ever going to play it were very slim, and it's a game that's people really like, and but I just knew that I would never get around to playing it, so I was like, you can just have it, yeah.
No, yeah, I have yet to sell a board game. Max, who's one of the co-designers on all the games that we make and sometimes on this show, he's been doing that a little bit more, and I think it's a great idea because I gotta get some more shelf space, and, like, I played some of these
Yeah,
games and, like, I can't just keep stacking more games on top of my shelf. I can't do it, but I keep
yeah.
buying more games, so
Yeah, I have these 3 bookcases, then I have a small case to the side here, and then, like, a Kallax type shelf in front of me with games stacked on top, and then in my living room, I have stacks and stacks of board games on the ground. So, yeah,
Yep.
my apartment is not big enough for another bookcase, but, yeah.
That's no, that's very relatable. I wanted to pause for a moment without Austin, my co-host. Yeah, I need more questions. So anybody in the chat, if you have any questions for Sarah, please put them in there. I'm reading them. Hello, Steven from Nashville. Good to see you, man. Um, so I think it's so much about advertising a game comes down to pitching your game quickly. And that's even something that we think about as creators and publishers of games, like as we are making them, right? It's like I think in order to do our job, which is make games that people want to buy, we have to think about that right away. And you've played so many
Yeah.
games, and you've had publishers come to you and kind of help them with this problem. Do you do you think that there's any kind of common threads that you see in games that maybe make it easier to distill down and kind of package up into something interesting? Or do you think you're able to make really just any game interesting, depending, even if it's like maybe a little bit more complex or harder to explain?
Um, I don't wanna sound full of myself. I think I can do it with any game, so, um,
Nice.
yeah, I'm not sure if there's, like if a game has to have something in it, like a common denominator in all games that would make it be able to be distilled in a minute. I don't know if all games are so different. Like I've covered so many different types of games. You know what I mean? I don't think I'd be able to
Mhm.
find something common between all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I see the value, like, I've been told that there's value in my videos because they basically are like advertisement for board games, right? It's like a minute and, not a lot of people have time to watch a 20-minute video on YouTube before deciding whether a game is right for them. So that's where my videos come in. So, people can watch my videos in a minute and then decide whether or not a game is worth backing. So I think, yeah, I think I provide
Yeah.
a valuable service. So, yeah,
Oh, you most definitely do. I definitely vouch for that one. No, and
yeah.
we've got like a pretty similar, um, like even before we started, we partnered up on Moonrakers. Like we've done something for our, um, for our own games. It's just like we got these, full, big, long, how how to play everything. Like you don't need to read the rule book. You watch this video, you'll have everything you need to play.
Mhm.
But it's just like, but our 90, like we do 90 seconds. We're not as ambitious or talented as you to get it down into 60. Sometimes it's 120 or 90 seconds. But those videos I think are just like so helpful and so necessary. But we still
Yeah.
get those comments. They're like, why aren't you telling me to play the whole, like how to play the whole game? Like you missed this rule. And I'm like, well, that's not the purpose of it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah,
But
I mean, those videos will exist regardless, like, if anyone wants to find a whole how to play video, there's so many of them for, like, every board game out there, so, yeah.
yeah, definitely. No, I love that, and I keep saying this. Like we need to get on TikTok because I know that there is kind of a budding community there. Do you see a lot
Yeah.
of board game talk on TikTok? And yeah, what's it been like over there? I mean, it's still early days, honestly, in TikTok as a whole. So
Yeah, what it's been like is so when I first joined, I did not see any other board game content on TikTok when I joined, and started making my own board game content, and TikTok is the kind of app where you really need to know the algorithm if you want to accumulate a large following. So I personally feel that the following I've got on TikTok is of people who will buy board games, who will watch videos and then decide whether or not they want to purchase a board game because I don't engage in all of these trends. I don't tend to use the latest song in my video to try to attract
yeah,
new followers. I don't engage in these dances and stuff like that. I don't do that stuff on TikTok. I just basically use TikTok to make 1-minute videos and then yeah, and then I post them to other platforms. So I may not have as huge a following as some other now board game content creators on TikTok, but I also think that my following is of people who are the kind that are likely to actually spend money on board games after watching
mm,
videos. But yeah, I've started to see more and more. Like I know that once I joined, more people started joining TikTok for sure, and now there's like more than a handful of board game content creators on TikTok. Yeah, all doing all kinds of stuff, whether it's like comedy skits or what have you. Yeah, there's quite a few people on there now. Yeah,
no, that's great. I love that like focus on like who do I want in my audience, right? Like because I think that like
yeah.
it's easy just to grab eyeballs, right? But like
Oh
the
yeah,
right eye,
yeah.
like the right viewers, I think is really important too.
I think that's really important. Like I could start doing a bunch of videos trying to, stay on top of TikTok trends, but then I may be attracting eyes that, aren't really adding any value to my, you know, community. So that aren't, going to really discuss board games or buy board games. And so, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, and
yeah,
and with that, we were talking a little bit about this before the show, but we are talking a little bit about some kind of hopes and goals that I think you have for this board game community as a whole. And I'd love to give you a chance to talk a little bit more about that now that we're live.
Oh, sure. Yeah, since entering the board game world, I've, especially on Twitter, I've seen a side of the community that I didn't think I would see, honestly. And, I, I, there's been so much discussion since January in the board game community about inclusion and,
Mm,
things like that, which are extremely important. And I am all for inclusivity, especially being a minority myself, someone who I've never seen anyone else in the content creation space like myself, someone who identifies as Muslim, someone who is from my ethnic background. So I myself am a minority in the space. And so, of course, inclusivity is important to me and it will always be important to me. But I just think, the way in which you go about trying to create that welcoming community for everyone, I think that there's some ways that are better than others in trying to create that community. And I just wish more and more people would realize that when you're speaking to someone on the internet, just realize that there's an actual person behind that screen with
Mm,
feelings, who has struggles in their day to day life. They may have a very stressful job, which I do. So, we are all human and we all have stuff going on in our personal lives. And though I am all for inclusivity, I just think that, be mindful of the way you approach, you know, the way in which you are trying to get that inclusivity, like being hurtful, posting mean things, and just, I don't think that's the way. I think, I wish more and more people would try to live by the golden rule, even on the internet. I think it's so easy for people to shout and scream on the internet because, they're not face to face with the person in front of them. And it becomes so easy to treat someone badly, but you don't realize that words really do hurt. And especially if those words are not true, and that can be really
mm.
damaging to a person. Um, so I just want people to be more mindful of that. Be mindful of the fact that there's another human being on the other side that you're talking to, and always keep that in mind that we're all human. We all have stuff going on in our lives. And, just try to be kinder to each other. That's what I
No,
want to see in the board gaming community. Yeah.
I love that. I agree and support everything that you're saying, and I think that's something that, um, we really strive for as well, and want to be,
Yeah.
um, I don't know, helpful and find
Yeah.
ways that we can make the board gaming community as diverse and inclusive as possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keeping that in mind, and also like it's I don't know, something that we all love. Board gaming is something that we
Yeah.
all love, and
Yeah.
I totally agree that it's super important to see. Um, I don't know. I think that representation is important, and I think um, yeah, it's something that we want to be a part of, and I think we want to bring this thing that we love to as many different people as possible, and invite them in and make
Yeah.
sure that
Of course.
everyone in our community is very kind and luckily that has been our experience, but also my experience is different than your experience because I'm a white man and that's a very different experience on the internet for sure.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's experiences are going to be different, of course, and there's going to be people who are angrier than others because of personal experiences they have had. But I would just like to say, don't assume that just because someone isn't as angry as you, that they haven't had those same experiences that you've had. Maybe their
Mm,
approach to talking about it and trying to create that diverse community is different than yours. Just don't make assumptions about people. If someone says that they care about diversity, and maybe believe them. Maybe that will actually create a better community, a better inviting community, rather than just being angry all the time and shouting all the time, like at certain people because they're not behaving in the same exact way that you want them to. We're all
mm.
human. We all have different ways of approaching different things in life. And, not everyone's approach is going to be the same as yours. It's just not. Yeah.
No, definitely. um
Yeah.
yeah, well, thank you for
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a really hard thing, and I think um,
Yeah.
everything you're talking about is a noble goal and something that I think we should all strive for this community. So, um, yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, I think it's been a bit of a rough go online for you lately, and I hope that
It has.
that
Yeah.
clears up soon. So,
But if
um,
you're wrapping things up on a good note, I'm seriously looking forward to Veiled Fate. Like, oh, that game was so good. Yeah.
oh, thank you, thanks very much. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I am speaking of Veiled Fate, not and if you wanna keep going and not change the subject, that's great, fine too, but, yeah,
Mm.
we're working hard on it. We just
Yeah.
got
The updates.
pre-production copies from Panda,
Yeah.
And
Oh,
they're sitting downstairs right now. I caught some typos, some grammar issues
mm,
that I have to
good.
solve tonight, but we are rolling, and I'm excited to get it out to people.
Yeah. Your
Um,
guys' production quality is outstanding, like Moonrakers, the production quality, it's yeah, it's, it's really up there. It's yeah, I just love it so much, and it it's great because the game is actually great too. It's not just the production quality. It's like, "Oh, yeah, really nice box, really nice cards, really nice components." That's it. No, but the game is actually really good too. So when you combine them both, like a really good game with a really good production quality, like what more could a board gamer hope for? Oh, it's wonderful. Yeah.
It's all very kind of you to say, because that is literally our goal. Like we
Yeah.
love those things too. Like
Yeah.
there are a lot of games that don't have both, and it's really hard to have both because like it's just really
Oh,
hard to come up
yeah.
with a good game. And it's also like,
I don't
I
wanna
don't know,
call
I've
it
I've
yeah,
spent no, no, yeah, no, no, it's so difficult. Like, and
yeah,
I've spent, my whole career just making things look pretty for other people, and now
yeah,
um, I've got the chance to, and our whole team have the chance to do that for ourselves and for this community,
yeah,
and love that. Um, and love the chance to be able to do that. So I really appreciate that. We hope to continue doing that with each of our games moving
yeah. I'm
forward.
seriously
So
looking forward to what you guys have next, like, in line, like, after Veiled Fate, like, oh, I don't know how you can surpass your first 2 games, like, just don't know
oh
how.
no. Oh no.
But we'll
I don't
see.
know
We'll
either.
see.
Now I'm terrified. Now I don't
Oh,
know. I don't know if
sorry.
we're gonna
I
be
didn't
able to do it.
know.
Um,
Yeah.
no, we are. I don't want to tease too much, but we've been play testing a brand new game,
Ooh.
play testing some Moonrakers expansions. So
Ooh.
we've got big plans. Austin's like working on a game that he's, you know, just working away at by himself, and he's going to show us someday. I'm sure it'll be awesome. But yeah, as you are more than welcome to join us in some play tests, Sarah.
Oh,
And
oh my god, I
we
would love to.
in
Yes.
yeah, no, so we'll have to get you into some, and anyone listening, our
Yeah.
our Discord, wonderful place with wonderful people, and um, we're going to be posting tons of playtest opportunities as these games are really gearing up into production. So please come join us and playtest things there. Um, so yeah. Um, so a few more questions to kind of close us out. Just a
Sure.
little bit more kind of fun, shorter questions. I loved King of Arthur's quick question: meeples or miniatures?
Meeples, always meeples. Now, I know that's probably an unpopular opinion, I don't know. Um, there's a few games where I've seen miniatures now that I'm like, "Okay, I love the miniatures in this game." Like, I recently just bought Imaginarium, and I think those are called miniatures, like, the main player pieces, like, they look like miniatures to me, but those are really nice, and, of course, the ones in Veiled Fate are amazing. So there
Oh,
are a
thank you,
couple of
thank you.
games where I love the miniatures, but otherwise, excluding those couple of games, which are the exception, I will always go for meeples. Yeah,
That's so interesting. I I was thinking about this too since it got put in there, and I'm like, I do
yeah.
really like. I feel like I used to be team meeple, but like now that I've like got into the process of making miniatures, I'm like, ooh, there are some, like, it's fun. Like
If
I
the
get it
yeah,
now. I'm starting to get
if
it
they're
more.
good quality miniatures, then yeah, miniatures, sure, why
Yeah.
not? Yeah, but not if it's a box that has like a billion of them. If it's a box with like a billion miniatures, then no, thank you. Like I don't want a giant, humongous box. But if it's like a few, then sure, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, next up, any games coming up that you're looking forward to? Anything on Kickstarter maybe, or anything that maybe your clients have talked to you about that's coming up that you can talk about?
Yeah, I know that the campaign's already started for this, but Chamber of Wonders, I'll be covering that. So that
Nice.
looks really cool. I love being set in like London and like, yeah. Uh-oh, am I frozen? Am I frozen? Oh, there we go.
Oh, no. I think we're back.
Did you
You
hear?
froze for a
No.
second, but I think we're good.
Okay.
I did. I heard you. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you're
So I was
good.
saying,
You're good.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, I was saying Chamber of Wonders. I think it's already on Kickstarter, but that looks really good to me, and I'm covering that, and I'm super excited about that. Um, Yeah, Three Sisters because I'm a huge fan of Fleet the Dice game, so super excited about Three Sisters, of course, by the same designers, a roll and write. I like strategic roll and writes. I love Fleet the Dice game, so yeah. So super excited about that one too. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I not that they need any more promo because it's Come On Games and it's live right now, but I think I'm gonna back Zombicide today. I don't own or have played any of the Zombicide games. There's like a Western theme one right now. Um,
Oh
it's
wow.
got like 1.5 million on Kickstarter now, so they're doing great. But I was just like
Yeah.
perusing and I was like, it caught my eye. So if there's any Zombicide fans out there, let me know if I should pick that up because
I've actually never
I'm a
played a
fan of.
Zombicide game.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so we're in that together. But I don't know, lots of miniatures, and I like a good co-op like survival game, and
Oh, okay.
yeah. So I think I'll get into that. All right. So next one, last game you got to the table, the most
Yeah,
recent.
last night actually. The last game I got to the table last night was Canvas, which it's right there, I think. Yeah. There, yeah. So
Nice.
yeah, I love it. It's beautiful. I love the transparent cards and creating different art pieces each time. And I really suck at it. Like I'm so bad at it. My score last night was so bad. My opponents had like scores of 32 and 35, and my score was 16. So
Oh no.
so I'm really bad, but I love it. It's so good. It's a beautiful, and one day I'm just gonna sit there and just make art pieces just for fun because I like the different cards that they have, and one of them has a really cute elephant, and so I'm just gonna start making art pieces just for fun. Yeah.
That's I love that. That sounds great. For me, last game I got to the table was our untitled, yet to be titled Monsters game that we are
Ooh,
testing, but I don't know if that really counts. Um,
it counts.
and but then my last actual to table was Wingspan, which was a little bit ago. It's been a little
Oh,
bit since I've been able to play
I
board
may
games,
be the
but
only board gamer
um,
on this planet who has not played Wingspan yet, but there you go. So
I
yeah,
I really liked it. I think everyone at the table really enjoyed it. So
cool.
yeah, and it was great, super well done as all of Stonemeyer's stuff is. All right,
Nice.
now a hard one. Favorite game right now? Like I know it changes all the time, but if you had to pick one, like your
Oh my god, favorite game right now? Oh my gosh. You know what? I might actually have to say Canvas. Either
oh
Canvas
nice,
or
all right,
Mr. Cat's Garden. Yeah, it's really hard.
no,
One of those 2.
that's very nice. I
Yeah.
I feel like I need to answer now, but I'm like looking over at my games, like trying to decide. I think today it's Twilight Imperium 4 because I miss Austin and it'd be fun to play that together.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so then my last quick question for you is next game. So like your what is it called? Like your we called it like Wall of Shame before. It's like the game that you've bought that you haven't gotten to play yet. It's been sitting on your shelf for a long time, and you're just really hoping to play it soon.
Oh my god, there's so many. I recently bought a holy grail game of mine, which I'd really like to play, Bruges. So that was a holy grail game of mine, and I spent a very pretty penny on that. So I should probably get that to the table sooner rather than later. But I also have the Rococo Deluxe Edition. I mean, I have over 40 games on my shelf of shame right now, so a lot. Um, yeah, but I think I'd
No,
really like to play Bruges since I spent a lot of money on it, way more than I should have.
okay,
Not even
nice,
knowing that
nice.
there's like a re-implementation of it that was on Kickstarter recently. I didn't realize that the Amsterdam and Hamburg games were like re-implementations, and yeah, oh well. So, yeah, these things
Got
happen.
it. No, I totally relate to all of that. So for me, I've got Reigns. It's an iOS game from Devolver Digital that I loved. I love the iOS game, and then they did a Kickstarter a little while ago. It's like this party game, um, and we just got it from Kickstarter like a little while ago. It looks super fun. It's pretty light, a little bit of like
Cool.
deception in there. So I'm really excited
Nice.
about it. So, yeah, well, I it's been really wonderful talking to you, Sarah. Where can people follow you, find you? What's the best way to kind of connect with you online?
Yeah, so I'm Board Games in a Minute on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So if you just look up Board Games in a Minute, you'll find me over there. And if you happen to be on TikTok, I'm Puffindor on TikTok. So that's Puffindor, Puffindor. Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that about does us for this week. We'll be back next week. Thanks so much for watching, Sarah. Thanks again.
Yeah,
And
thank you
we'll
so
talk
much.
to
This
you
was
all.
great. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you over hopefully on the Discord. We'll play some games together. So yeah, have a good weekend, everybody.